Welcome to the story of Elijah and the widow. This story is from 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 8 through 16. The lesson focus for grades 5 and 6 is God chooses the unchosen. The prophet Elijah, who preached to King Ahab, is introduced in chapter 17 of 1 Kings. Many times in these stories of kings and prophets, Israel's God is pitted against Baal, the Canaanites' fertility god. God's provision, faithfulness, and power are emphasized throughout such stories. Zarephath was a commercial capital and port city on the Phoenician coast. In this story, the entire area was experiencing a severe drought, and the people were calling on their gods of life and rain. When God sent Elijah to Zarephath, Elijah was told there was a widow there who would feed him. Elijah arrived hungry and thirsty. He asked the woman for some water, which she gave him. He then asked her for bread. She protested that she had only a handful of meal and a little oil, her last meal with her son before they would starve. Elijah promises her that if she makes him a cake with these last provisions, his God, the God of Israel, will not let her or her son starve. And it was so. She made the cake, and the jar of meal and the jug of oil never emptied. God picked an outsider, a Phoenician, a destitute widow who worshipped Baal, to feed Elijah when he came to Zarephath. She, in turn, became part of the story of God's amazing care for all people. God's love goes beyond all of the boundaries we create for ourselves. God loves and works with all types of people. God feeds us, and when we listen to God, we learn that we can feed others. Many call this story a miracle, but it is not a strange, supernatural kind of miracle. It is a miraculous partnership. People are fed when there is no food. This happens because God puts two unlikely people together and makes it work. God chooses the unchosen, and amazing things happen. When we listen to and trust God, God uses us to do amazing things too, often in partnership with people we would never imagine. The message that God chooses the unchosen is especially important for this age group. Working with upper elementary kids may lead you to think they're growing up at a much younger age than your own experience as a 5th and 6th grader. From their physical development and clothing to school expectations and family challenges, you've probably noticed that many of them face some pretty complex issues. The best way to address this? Treat your kids with respect and build trusting relationships. When kids discuss times they've been chosen or left out during the opening conversation, pay special attention to these revelations and take care to affirm kids' feelings, especially when they relate their exclusion stories. The plight of widows in the leaflet gives kids a chance to see the contemporary problems facing women who have lost their husbands. Emphasize this direct connection between the Elijah story and our present time. If there are members in your congregation who have recently lost a spouse, your group may be interested in making a card or other message to share. Extra meal, what a deal, takes the further step of asking kids to take action on sharing their known surpluses. This lesson holds extra weight if you can turn these discussions into plans of action for students. Encouraging kids to organize a drive to fight hunger sounds ambitious, but can start with a one-day activity such as collecting canned food. Keep the scope of this simple and the goals attainable, building confidence and self-esteem in your class. Use this lesson as an opportunity to build up all the kids in your class. Remind them that no matter what they think of themselves or others think of them, God will use them because God chooses the unchosen.